The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show, live from St. Peters, Missouri. I'm Barnzy, joined by the inimitable Beef Stew. And wow,
what's up?
What a weekend we had.
Yeah, that little shit managed to have a nice little couple of hours on that show. I think he ended up making approximately 120,000 just in an afternoon's work, so that was kind of nice.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would be.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah, would be if I could. But yeah, I think that the obviously we're talking about Brandon Bonter. Him and EJ obviously did a masterful job of breaking the lane down to start with. I don't actually think that either side really broke the lane down badly. Spencer really struggled, but somebody said it, and I thought back on it. Outside of Spencer, I don't think any of the other four guys, certainly after Kep got his feet under him, missed the pocket on the whole show.
Yeah, once Brandon got his feet underneath him, it was game on for sure.
Dodgy couple of frames, and then, like I say, then he was off to the races.
And he knew it. But, he's been on a couple of shows, between collegiate shows and whatever, and it's not the same, but he said as soon as I got my feet underneath me, I knew I'd be fine, because they did a pretty good job. And he compared it to the first time. I think the show that Graham or maybe Gary Faulkner was on and won the Players, that was one of EJ's first ones, and it was all left-handed except for EJ.
That was the World Championships, yeah.
World Championships, and EJ did a miserable job of breaking the lanes down. Started left, and because there's no built-in track on a brand new surface like that, so you can't just break them down anywhere. You actually have to create the track or wherever your right is. And conversely, these two guys, which are, they were in the 475 and 525 range rev rate wise, and they were further right than any pair I bowled on by the end of practice session. And that was with guys that none of them had as high a rate as either one of these guys. So they did a really good job. And then Brandon did a nice job of staying there for a long time.
Yeah, let's quickly talk about that. A couple of people have said, have asked about the balls. Robert says, what are thoughts on Transformer and Bionic? Transformer wasn't really a factor in the bowling center. Certainly not that I saw. Bionic was...
D-Ron actually was using it for a while.
Yeah. But Bionic was used a little bit, but I actually didn't really like it on the long pattern. I felt like it was a little bit too quick. We actually saw quite a few of the guys who were high up anyway on the right side using rock stars on that pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I think ironically Brandon was one of the guys that brought that into play, and that's some of the beauty sometimes of guys that haven't been on tour yet, because the tour guys can really quickly get judgy on a ball, and then it just kind of moves along. And he doesn't have a million bowling balls, and he likes that ball. It rolled great for him at home, and so he had it. And then a bunch of people started drawing it.
Yeah, but of course, going over to the ITRC, there's way less friction in the front part of the lane. So talking to Brandon, that ball actually had 360 on it, that Transformer.
Right.
And watching at home, I mean, the fucking balls on the kid. I mean, he's bowling that game against Farr, and he's not missed the pocket on the left lane, and he blow a sevens,
and
then just ball changes straight into the bionic. And I think in hindsight, that was 100% what won him that title match.
I was sitting over there next to Brandon's dad and Linda and Ryan, and I'm like, oh, this is the whole thing. This is it right here, because it's too high scoring to really miss again. He missed once and done that, but if the first one doesn't strike and you give it one more shot and it's not the right ball, it's done. And it has to be the right 100%. One. And he struck on the very first one, and he ended up bringing 10 on the next one, and which opened things up. But we've been on a bunch of shows.
You definitely have.
And and to march up a step ladder like that, I think twice in maybe 20 tries, the number of things that have to go right.
100%. I mean,
patterns does help it a little bit, because you have two patterns you have to get lined up on. But EJ had a pretty good handle on all of it.
I do agree that I do think that when it's two patterns, it's a little easier to run the ladder. When I won my last title, it was actually on two patterns. And I definitely think that it made it easier to move up the ladder, because the people coming in have to try and figure out both patterns. And like I was talking to you about it, when you only get the 12 shots, I know only 12 sounds like a lot, but 12 on one pattern is way more than 6 on each.
Almost every time when I've gone up the ladder on something that wasn't dual pattern like that, it's because one of the two lanes was pretty different. Almost any time, I say myself, but really any time somebody goes from bottom to top, they have an ugly first game, they dial in the lane that everybody's struggling on, and then they're there, because you come on, you get 6 shots or 8 shots, and the EJ gets more than everyone else. But generally speaking, the two lanes, there's one lane they don't get. Now, in this case, they were different, but they were both pretty well set up.
Refined.
Just Brandon was so dialed in.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it's difficult to survive a 300 game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to put much pressure on him, too. And you and I talked about this. I mean, Ethan and Brandon have set a new level for composure and overall calmness in a situation that, I mean, EJ and Belmo had to make 20, 30 shows before they got. And I don't know that they were as calm as these guys are.
I think the thing I think it's almost a little bit with Ethan. It's a little bit less wild, just because Ethan had the couple of shows before. Like, he had that big roll off with EJ, and I think that really helped him.
Well, that's the one I was talking about, though. He was calm in that. And that was a sudden.
I was thinking about
7 shots. And that was the one that really caught me with him. They're like, wow. And he came out in the match against Ryan last year, and he came out a little nervous.
Yeah, he started off pretty poorly, and then
but you couldn't see it. You just saw. I watched practice, and his first couple of shots just weren't the same. And then super. I mean, it's an incredible skill that didn't really get talked about much. How hard it is to get that start and then go, and then bowl 240 with a horrific start, and just made it look easy the rest of the way. And that was certainly a way tougher TV show pattern than what this ended up being.
I mean, Daniel, you can pick and choose whatever you want. I just think that I don't think that the entertainment of a show is on the rookies ever. Like, if you want to criticize someone, you can criticize Graham Farr, or you can criticize Jesper, or you can criticize EJ. They've been on plenty of shows, and they show almost zero emotion.
20, 30, 50, EJ's been on 60 shows now. So
I think it's very difficult to criticize the kid who's on his first show. It's not on him to carry the show.
It's not unfair, and it does take balance. I mean, the reason why Earl Anthony worked is because you had Mark Roth and Marshall Holman. And even Mark Roth wasn't particularly animated on those shows. He just had a different presence than Earl. And then Marshall kind of made it all work because he was the polar opposite. It was all in his sleeve. You knew the good, the bad, the ugly. He was kind of what must watch TV. And
yeah, and like I just think that like
yeah,
it's a very difficult it's a very difficult balance, right? Because I don't think it necessarily matters what EJ does. I think EJ has fans because he's just incredibly good bowler. Like he's generational, like amazing, right?
mm-hmm.
But in the way that he's a bit more like Scotty Scheffler than he is a bit like Tiger Woods. Nobody's really drawn to Scotty Scheffler. Like they're like, oh my God, he's amazing. But people aren't like, it's hard to explain this. The people aren't running to the TV watching Scheffler and being like, oh my God, I missed a shot. I've got to rewind to catch up. Whereas when Tiger was at his peak, everybody wanted to watch like every shot because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, know when the next moment was.
And I feel like Belmo had a little bit more of the Tiger type thing because it was just like he would throw a shot and it'd be like, oh my God, he 4 count. But then he'd spare it like from nowhere. and it was just like, I don't know. I think people are more drawn to him.
Yeah.
Whereas I just don't, I don't necessarily. You've never heard of Scotty Scheffler? Okay. Well, that's kind of proves my point, I guess.
He's the best golfer in the world. But the one thing that is similar about golf and bowling is that the meat of the money is made, and you're bowling or competing in these 4 and 5 hour blocks. And if you're super emotional, it's very difficult to compete at a very high level that whole time without going through these big dips. So guys naturally end up trying to get to way more level type of personalities because that's what gets you through the qualifying to get you through the next stages. And then by the time you make the show, well, now it's all hyper intense, super short, where this can play out. But that's not how you bowled the whole tournament to get there. Yeah. I wonder what Packy will do now, so he probably can't afford to get Brandon on.
Yeah, like I say, I just think that I hear this a lot about the players who get criticized when they're on the show, and yeah, like I say, I get it. I do think that some of it is the environment. I do think some of it is the format of how we bowl on TV. I think we've spoken about this before.
You and I are fans of going one frame at a time.
Yeah, I like that. I always felt like players showed way more emotion on the Weber Cup than they ever did on TV shows. Now, granted, when you're bowling on the Weber Cup, you know, the stakes were like personal rather than financial. Like that's not to say they were less important necessarily, but there was still an element of it was a show, like, you know, we were back and forth in it more of than a, you know, this is like the most important tournament in the world. That's kind of you to say, Amanda. I think Kyle needs to get his sea legs underneath him before we start introducing more people into the booth with him. I thought he did a good deal after the first. They had a little bit of issues to start with, but I think after a little while, I think it got good.
Oh boy, we have a lane in the PTQ that didn't get oiled. Yeah. Tony gets no days off. I'm telling you, they're
How the
just.
fuck are we only finding out now?
I don't know. I
Like
don't know.
they've been bowling an hour and a half.
I think it just probably finally made the chat, but yeah.
Oh,
There's been some talks about the TV show too, and the commentators. So
yeah. I mean, Zach here is talking about moving over to the ITRC. I personally absolutely fucking hate it when they do it.
yeah,
Like despise it. I know why they did it. In relation to USBC getting to showcase their their facility. I just think that unless you move into an arena, I think it's horrible. Like personally.
yeah. I've been on a bunch of them, and it's one of those things where you kind of convince yourself it's all going to work out. It's all going to even out, whether it does or
Yeah,
not.
no,
I have
100%.
older, but it's certainly not the same. uh, and these guys did a pretty good job of adapting. And Brandon didn't throw the red ball at Q78 really at all over at Euless. He threw the concept most of the time, but they were, the ITRC asked for different things, and they were tighter over there, and so that transformer got into play, and the Bionic wasn't angular like it was at Showplace because its pro lane is just way less friction than I think that's SPL over there. So
Yeah, well, let's. Hey, Glenn, thanks for the super chat. Nice to see you. Yeah, I would say that's a fair comparison.
I don't think he moved the needle quite like Jack did, but yeah, it's
I think Arnold Palmer was the one who was really moving the needle, though.
true.
Like,
yeah, if you put it in comparison, like how many people probably showed up to watch Sergio Garcia versus Rory McIlroy, and Sergio was not within miles of the player that Rory has been, but he was exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think Rory's probably the wrong example because he's the one he's by far the most popular golfer on the PGA Tour. Like, it's not even close. Him and Jordan Spieth is the one who's who has lots of fans who doesn't necessarily
very vanilla
have the results plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Darkborg. Our week. I'll talk about me first because that's my favorite subject. I came into the season with a mindset that I was going to play the friction more than I was going to chase it left, and that lasted all of about one block. Well, no, all of about 5 frames really on the short pattern. Muscle memory took over, and we were fucking all over the place on the short. The short was awful. I felt like I bowled really well on the long the first night. Doing exactly what I was trying to focus in on, not getting separated away from that friction spot, committing to it. Got back up into the top 24 going overnight. And then when we came back the next day, inevitably having oiled the long the night before, the lanes weren't even remotely close on the short pattern. And I got way too separated. I was way too far left to way too far right. All of our guys who bowled really well in the second day on the short, pretty much to a man, all used the concept. The concept was made an awesome debut, I would say, on the PBA Tour last week.
Yeah, you're not going to confuse that one with the level debut.
No, I mean, I feel
this
like
ball's going to be in a lot of bags. So
yeah, people saw it a lot. So I kind of put myself in a position where I was dead, and then I bowled okay the next day, and the next block on the long again. If I would have, bowled even halfway decent on the short pattern, I would have made it because I had 220 over, a little more than 220 over on the long pattern. And, that was plenty enough really to make it because it only took 400 to make it. So shooting 200 over on the short pattern, which was the easier of the two patterns.
Mine was much less exciting. I got off to a really slow start and bowled okay, executed okay, did kind of some of the game plans things I wanted. I just didn't make enough good shots on a regular basis. And then, so I was 50 over basically every block. Didn't shoot spares great, but that's not what cost me. I mean, I knew my equipment fairly well. I missed a couple of moves in there, and there's some things I could have done better. I did not do very well with red ball and the concept and getting them to work together on the short, which day one wasn't a big deal. I mean, I had the high end and then went to 3 and 4. And so I had a very didn't hook at all, hooked quite a bit. And so it was off balance a little bit early and just didn't have a real good feel for the right thing. But everybody had that cross at some point. I just didn't get out of it very well. And so we'll see. There's more than I want.
I think the other thing was it was always going to be tricky to learn exactly where the concept was going to fit in real time. I've got 3 of them, and they're all different, but I still not necessarily like dialed in on, hey, this is the right one for this situation. I just need to throw it better. I'm still in that situation where I'm like, is that just because I need the other one? And like, I think once you get a little bit more data and a little bit more understanding of what you're doing with the balls, it becomes very obvious that like, oh no, this is exactly the right one in this situation. I just need to be throwing it a little harder or whatever the scenario is. And I think once you clear that up a little bit, like with you about wanting to know when you should be in the red ball and when you should be in the blue ball, I think once you get the clarity, it makes it a lot easier. If you kind of know, hey, as soon as this red ball wiggles, a bit like Brandon on that show, like he always wanted to be in that bionic. He was just using the transformer was just what was getting him to that bionic. Yeah. And it's always a lot easier to get out of a ball that you don't necessarily want to throw.
Yeah, I think that ball was a setup ball, and it just kept rolling good. And so he just stayed in it. Like he was ready to get out of it. It just never gave him any reason at all. And it finally really didn't anyway. It hooked in the front. It was starting to get lazy, but he left with 1/7 penny. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm out.
And that's what I'm saying. I think once you start to see that with the red ball, you'll know that you'll have a trigger, and it isn't always flat 10.
Yeah.
It might be that like, oh shit, if I 9-pin with this ball, it's because it's picking up way too soon and it's just continuing too much. It's like, it's time to move left with the concept. And as we go in the season and as we get to use it a little more, and the only thing for us is we won't need to make that change next week at the US Open because it'll just be concept because, of course, urethanes are out. And this week is a long pattern.
Not likely to use it.
Yeah. Like this week, long pattern. I'm actually kind of interested. I think there's going to be quite a few of them go down the lane this week on this pattern. Because this pattern, when we bowled in Springfield, was kind of tricky to start with.
Yeah, a lot of it's hit on the surface. Brand new place. We haven't even been over there yet. But, yeah, I mean, Brandon's thing, that's an incredible performance. I thought it was, he kind of dug his way out. He wasn't way up there. He was, in the 20s and then just fought his way through the next cut, then fought his way through the next cut and just kept climbing. And as it got later, he just kept getting better. It was a lot of composure and a lot of veteran moxie from a guy who basically doesn't have any of those.
Like I say, we can't say enough great things about his performance. I mean, I'm kind of bored about saying nice things about him now. I think, like, from me personally, I think that it tricks me a little bit because I think that I need more surface on it than some of the other guys need on it. Um, and then I look at it and it looks like, oh, it's still got decent surface on it just because of the shading or whatever. And then I'll throw one, I'll be like, man, that doesn't really hook quite as much as I want it to. And then I'll really hit one, and then I'll be like, oh, wow. You know, like, and when I'm saying really hit, I mean, I don't think anybody was really going past 500 with those.
I haven't seen they do that. So, I mean, it seems to hold it pretty well, though. I mean, because it's strong and absorbs, it doesn't do the thing like urethane does, where you get some oil on it and then it just skids forever. It still picks up pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly way more usable than anticipated, and it got a lot of play in week one, and really at the other center, the really IQ 78s or black hammers they were okay on the right, but not great. That's not where the score was had, and so yeah, just is what it is. As far as the show, I thought things were the concept out of the box, which isn't really a lot of grit on it. I mean, there's underneath grit, but I think the top is 2,000. It's not. It's not particularly a lot. For those who don't know how the whole thing sets up, CW hires play-by-play. They have a standard they want for their shows. Fox does the same thing. CBS does the same thing. Occasionally, they'll take somebody, say a Randy could be experienced enough to be a play-by-play, but it's pretty rare that ever happens. And so the network hires the play-by-play guy, and then the PBA, Lucky Strike, hires the color analyst. And so how this whole thing came about and why they wanted a new refresh, and they went younger. And so obviously Kyle has a lot of time in front of the camera, not necessarily the TV camera, but in front of the camera, and they're going to give him a shot. Some of the things that happened mostly were in game one, and were pretty predictable based off of the times that I've been in the booth. When the director starts yelling, what's coming up next, or some direction that's meant for the play-by-play, it's hard not to just listen. And so Kyle got caught once where he had a thought, and Bruner started talking about what was the promo board that was coming up next, which was for Rick Allen, and Kyle stopped because he, out of politeness, was just listening, and then realized then he was stuck. He didn't have time to finish his thought. It only happened one time, and I thought he did a pretty good job, and they found a rhythm as it went. The fact that Rick a messenger came across, and the messenger, and it doesn't quite deliver. I'm like, well, for a guy that doesn't know bowling, he's already spent some time watching shows, picking up some of the terms. And so that's kind of all the grace I need from him. He's interested in learning.
I mean, he turned up and went in the Bowl TV booth. To me, that was a great start. Hey,
I want to be around. I want to get good at this. I want to know who the guys are.
He seems like he wants to buy in.
Yeah.
Which is all you're really after, in my mind. I think all of those guys are good. Like, I don't think there's a bad. I think it's a pretty complicated job. And, one guy might annoy you more than others. Like, I quite like Joe Buck. A bunch of guys hate Joe Buck.
Right.
But you couldn't say he's bad at his job. You just don't like the tone of his voice or whatever.
Yeah.
And the same with like Rob Stone. Rob Stone's awesome. Like, I like Rob Stone. Like, I think he's a great human being. Right. But I know a bunch of guys who like bowling who hate Rob Stone. So I think that job is going to be it's love him or hate him. And I think that the good thing for me about him is he wants to understand. He sees it as he doesn't see it as a joke. He doesn't see it as like, this is annoying, I've got to do this, I want to be doing NASCAR. Like, he didn't see it that way. So to me, that's a great start.
Yeah.
Did the Gremlin or Ion Max Pearl get any significant play? For me, they did. Yeah. I used the Gremlin at the end on the short pattern. I see it as quite a similar overall hook to Ion Pro, the original Ion Pro, but to
Gremlin
me,
Tour X. Right.
yeah. When they say new Gremlin, I figured that's what they're talking.
Right.
But it's more rounded. It's more of a usable motion in that sort of hook range for me. Like the Ion Pro for me wasn't quite strong enough to be as quick as it was, but it wasn't clean and it wasn't necessarily like enough quick to play like the really big angles like it tended to. It was just to me the Ion Pro was just like it kind of ended up being in no man's land, and this Gremlin Tour just a little more rounded for me. It's like I can see it being the replacement for IQ Tour on the PBA Tour, because since balance holes went away a long time ago, outside of a couple of centers, like actually next week, Indy, where the surface is hook a bunch, IQ Tour hasn't really been a factor on the PBA Tour for a long time. And then quickly on to Chris's favorite, Ion Pro Max Pearl. For me, I see it as being a little more rounded and continuous than the Viking. So on that longer pattern, I wanted something that was a little slower and didn't want to like really change direction. I think Ion Max Pearl isn't a go long and snap and go sideways. It's like I know this sounds stupid, but it's almost like a solid pearl ball, if that makes sense, because it's so strong. It almost looks like a solid, but it's shiny.
It was not nearly as smooth as I expected it to be. We'll find out more because we didn't really throw on the short, only threw it on the long, and 50 feet. Nothing looks quick per se, but it was not. I expect to be a shiny Ion Max, and it was certainly more directional than that. I think.
Oh yeah, see that for me, that's exactly how I saw it. So.
Oh no, yeah, I mean it's miles stronger than a Viking for me. They're not in the same.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I thought it was quite round. I didn't think it like changes direction super hard.
Harder than I expected for a ball that's that big, with that big a core in it.
Yeah,
more directional than Transformer for me, which is. I mean, not necessarily the highest
definitely bar. Yeah, me and Chris aren't on the same page on this one. We have been on a few of the balls, but this one is definitely not where we.
And you will see more this week because I have a feeling we'll see quite a few of them this week on 45 feet. So,
thanks for subscribing. Better than John Fanta. Yeah, I mean John Fanta is a superstar. His voice is like nails down a chalkboard for me. Like
he's the new Schwab for ESPN. I didn't realize it when he started. I thought we were getting somebody, kind of off the. Hey, the C football game. Okay, you can come over and do this instead. But turns out he's everywhere for them. So they weren't necessarily. We were getting one of their guys. But Brian O'Keefe says about watching my buddy practice, talking about Rick Allen, the last couple months to try and learn the game as fast as possible. Definitely eager to learn, and he's a Husker. We'll overlook that. But is he bowl the same as everybody else there too? Just asking for a friend. No, like I said, I've been very impressed in the meetings. I think he's made efforts to get around and make introductions to the guys too. And we've seen guys that we had, was it Jim Kelly, the golf announcer, fantastic voice, just didn't care about bowling at all. Showed up, did his job, collected a check, moved on.
No, regular rock star. The amp I didn't see anybody throwing the amp.
No, I didn't see even him go down the lane, to be honest.
Chris, how fun was it calling EJ versus Belmo match in that 1940s style bowling center?
I bowled there, but it's been a while. Back closer to when it opened because we live 40 minutes from there. Lots of times there's a screen down and they just show videos, and so it's not really open to the public. It's a different setup than the St. Louis Hall of Fame, where they had more lanes, and you had to have Pinboy set them up for you there too. Same way. It is cool though, and I enjoy the history. And it was EJ showed off his versatility a little bit there, and Belmo got caught too. They didn't really have any idea what they're going to be bowling on, and he just had new balls because he just got off the plane. He just didn't have anything that went straight enough to keep him away from the wall.
Yeah,
and keep him closer to a pretty big ratio on the pattern. So straighter was greater because he couldn't move far enough left to really.
What did they play for?
Captains, it was lane choice and order, basically.
Oh, okay.
It was basically a promo, so they just said, hey, the PBA Tour is starting back up.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool. It's high in the Hall of Fame, and you get a little retro look, and it's a little bit, with the wall and stuff. I think I dig some of the homage to history, because I think we've kind of forgotten a lot of it, the stuff that happened in the 70s and 80s when this thing was really hopping. So every once in a while, a little glimpse back and reminder of kind of where things are built, and the next generation is building on those two guys. So.
Yeah. So we're bowling on 45 feet this week. For me, the balls I see that I could get some play out of, just going in like thought process. Kind of maybe it's weekend bias, but I am kind of seeing Transformer coming in. To start with, want to try and see if I can get some play out of that one. And then, of course, like quite a few of the balls I used last week on that longer pattern.
Yeah. I think Phase 2 Pro has a chance on this kind of thing. I liked it in the spot. I used the Phase 2 Pro a fair amount on the short. I even used a little bit on the long late just to keep it in front of me, because the front hooked quite a bit. And by the time I threw it slow enough to get where everybody else was, the early hook was killing me. So I had to get something that would push through the front and then tip. So, Stu, in a recent show, you said there was a good way and a bad way to lay out a Phase 2 Pro. Could you refresh me on that? I can't find the episode. Love the show. I think we both agree there is better ways to drill that ball.
I think that stronger layouts have looked better for me personally on the Phase 2 Pearl. Stronger certainly than I would have Phase 2s. When I drilled Phase 2 stronger, they flared an absolute ton, and then they just got super lazy down the lane.
So for you, still up, but a half inch, 1 inch stronger.
Yeah, like probably like a half inch stronger.
Okay.
And I just think that when it was kind of in the weak zone, I felt like it was neither one thing nor the other.
Yeah.
It was just no man's land. Like it wouldn't pick up early enough for how quickly and smooth it wanted to get down the lane. So once I drilled it a little stronger, that sort of like, looking at 4 3/4 to 5, as opposed to, 5.5, 5 3/8 to 5 3/4 type ranges. When I was in that stronger zone, I just felt like it now has a more natural, like I've complemented kind of the two things together. Whereas I felt like the layout was trying to push it too far down the lane, but the cover and the core weren't like responsive enough to, recover from being that far down the lane. And I think Chris saw somewhat of the same thing. Like you got a little bit more into it.
I went in a little bit different direction, but I had a 5.5 inch tall. And I felt like the cover was super clean and it was too sharp off the dry. And then I couldn't get it out of the puddle. And that was when I was bowling more league. I went down and went to a 4.5 inch down pin and kicked it out. It'd be 4.5 by 3 by, 4. And now I feel like I can use it a lot. The only issue I have is every once in a while, it's still a little bit clean to really be a true middle ball for tour. For league, I think it's fine that way. But I feel like I can use it on a ton of things now.
Yeah.
Different way of making it stronger, but it's stronger pin, and then I put it lower to get it to blend out.
Hello, Chris.
Sir.
Stu, what did you think about Brandon's smooth approach and how it compares to Fagan? So I'm not wrong saying they have similar moves with the hand and the release. I think that Fagan is like super loose, and he has just a incredibly large swing. Like I don't see Bonta. I see Bonta as being more compact, personally.
Yeah.
Um,
Much more traditional.
People talk about him being mini Prather. I don't really see that either. And probably not helpful that he's like 6 inches taller than Prather. But I was quite surprised how high Brandon's rev rate was on the show. I think we both commented on that.
Yeah, I just kind of had him in my head in the 425 range, and he was consistently 475, which normally is a little bit low on TV versus reality. EJ in the 515, which he's 525 to 550. Jesper was 570, and that's what we consistently see on shows. He's 570 to 600. Like if you do it on a slow speed camera and do it by the dial and kind of actual rev rate, it's all an algorithm, but it's it's sneaky high. And for reference, 475 puts him with Tommy, who not long ago was
probably higher than Tommy now.
Yeah, I mean, he might be. He probably is, and it's pretty sneaky. And he also does clear the front and play the lanes a little bit more like a Prather. Although this week he can also get it. He kept it more forward and kept it more in front of him, which obviously Prather can do all that stuff too.
Yeah, I feel like Brandon's like, either way, both good bowlers. I just don't necessarily see the comparisons all the time. Everybody's got questions for me today. I like it. Stu, you might like phase 2 stronger. I didn't really. I'd still actually messed around with it a little bit. I still felt like, I think the problem for me is if I end up with a phase 2 with a much stronger layout, I just would rather be in an asymmetrical ball, so I had the extra help with the asymmetry. And then I can go into, I think we've spoken about this a little bit before. Like for me, if I need a stronger phase 2, I'd rather drop into an asymmetrical ball and have a slightly weaker cover, just because it'll stay in play longer. And like, because to me, like XL and phase 2 are like fairly comparable with about how much they like hook and where they are in my bag. But the XL has a much weaker cover stock. So I can just stay in it for longer if I need something, that's going to be a bit more, just a bit more bite, I guess. So that's kind of how I end up playing that. I feel like if you're going to be a symmetrical guy with a stronger layout, you need more rev rate than I have. I think it just burns up too much. But because that phase 2 cover is really strong. Do you see the concept as a league ball or asim still better? I wouldn't personally use the concept in league, but I could see some people who would like to. I think some slower speed players, I think concept could be a good option because I think it's still very continuous.
Yeah, I mean, wet dry, it'll blend it out a little bit. We saw some guys actually shine them up last week too, and got in, which none of us had done yet, and it retained shape. So if you're a lower speed, lower rev rate player and need something to save energy that will still, kick and be predictable, this is that's probably an option.
Yeah.
I think it's too early to know exactly what, we have a new deal this year, multiple lane pattern designers, and the theory is that using multiple guys will have multiple
scenarios, I guess.
Scenarios and theories and volumes and whatever. And so we'll probably see more variety everywhere. But as good as this ball has been for us, I see us using it at some point, hopefully.
One guy actually said to me, and he'll remain nameless, but he's fairly smart. He said to me that he didn't see the phase 2 Pearl necessarily being in play that often because it's been so good on house shots so far. And in general, he said that over the last few years, the balls that have been really good on house shots coming into the PBA Tour just don't really get used that much. And I don't really necessarily think about it that much, but he listed off a couple of balls and it kind of made sense. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're both on a plan. We think that Bionic may be really good. This is a friend from Northern California. I guess an old teammate also of Linda's. He's a left-hander, but we still like him, mostly because he's a Chiefs fan. But yeah, we talked about balls a little while ago. He's getting back into the game again and got a Bionic to use and a phase 2 Pearl to match up with some stuff that he had around it. Used IMX first game and then Bionic the last 2 for 540. I think that ball is very special. I think it's unique from what we've had here in the last couple of years, and so I expect to see a lot of that ball.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we may well be wrapping this up. I'm going to go and pick Chris up because Boy Wonder is still on his way over. Well, Chris is going to hopefully, unless he gets divorced from Ryan in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
He might kick me out for Brandon, but they may pick each other.
I am hopeful of me and Frankie running it back, but we will see. I know if you were to have a break in the season, depending on how you felt, that actually wouldn't be a terrible place to take it.
Yeah.
Because we'd be in Rochester, and then the next event after the doubles is in Ohio, and going Rochester down to Ohio, going home for a week and coming back would save about 20 hours of driving. So I'm fascinated to see if a few guys lean that way with that event. Because are we counting points at that event with it being like the Baker best of 7?
Because it's an invitational, it's a no points event as well.
Yeah. So
I hurt their team or anything else if they decide, hey, you know what? I'm just going to, if Ryan decides to obviously bowl with Brandon, then I probably wouldn't, you wouldn't be scrambling around to find a partner. No, probably not. I mean, I love doubles events, but
yeah, I just that's the only thing that my initial thought is with us having the 12 weeks in a row. I think that a couple of guys might end up seeing that as this isn't the worst week to have off because it is kind of a pain in the ass with the way the driving is and everything else.
Oh, and some guys just have to know themselves, hey, I can't do this many weeks in a row. I need to recharge before the TOC and the World Series, and that's your chance to go and get yourself set and squared away for the 2. You have 2 giant ones to finish off the year. That will for almost half the points for the year.
It's kind of funny because it's one of those where for the margin, the good players are way less likely to take the event off the high end players. But the format is almost set up for the lower end players because the format's just it's basically a lottery. Baker best of 7 drawn from a. Are we drawing out the hat or are we just seeding it?
I think you're seeded based on the highest player ranked. So EJ's let's just say EJ's the number 1 seed, and whoever his partner is, even if he picked someone who was 45th,
one of us
two. Huh?
Yeah, he picked one of us too.
Yeah. If Ryan picks me, and we'd still be the 4th seed because that's his ranking, not our cumulative.
Right. Okay.
Cumulative would be an interesting way to do it. But as my understanding is right now is the high person's rank.
It'd be quite funny if you ended up changing who you were picking just so that you change your seeding.
Yeah, you go, you know what?
Maybe I'll get a different guy.
Yeah. Instead of being, I could be 12th or I can be 4th.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching.
We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll be back Tuesday. Well, it's the U.S. Open. So the U.S. Open's a massive, crazy week. We're both on different squads. It's going to be pretty tough to pull one off next week. It will be tough to pull one off this year as we go along. It'll be a little bit last minute like this, but when we can, we'll catch up. We'll spill the tea where there is and talk about what's going on and be you up to pace on what's going on. Can't you just stay in your lane?
What's he talking about?
Out of all those clothes that I put in your truck yesterday, none of them happened to be my jerseys that I have not worn yet. I got the laundry ones, so I have the 3 that I wore last week. None of them.
So did Ryan bring your new jerseys?
Oh no, he didn't.
They had to be sent
out. They're getting sent out today. So.
Oh,
that's right,
boy.
Yeah, we used his card, so that's what he doesn't know.
Yeah, I believe the phrase, Ryan, is that my mother-in-law uses quite often. Oh well. All right, let's get let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. All right, get that comment out of there. Oh, that's good. Drive safe. See you in about 3 hours. All right, guys. Between now and whenever we come back next, please support the sponsors that support us. Storm Rotogift, Niner Global, Cool Wick, Bowler Smart, Firelight Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Forward. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later, guys. Thank you.